If you could change any choices you have ever made, would you? You can always make another choice and change the course of your success. Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices radio show, holographist coach, Christine McIver.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have another fabulous show coming your way, a show that will have you ask some good questions and maybe actually start to embrace what's going on in the world right now. So if you are listening live, you know that today is April the 1st, 2020. Yes, it's April Fool's Day, but I'm not fooling. We're going to have a good show. And if you are listening after the fact, you know that this show was taped in the thick of the coronavirus that's around the world. And, you know, we'll get into this conversation with my guest, but I'll tell you, it's definitely an interesting time that is creating a lot of very cool things while it is creating a lot of chaos. So tonight we are talking about when the universe speaks, and my guest is Sylvia Pelster, Silk. Sylvia is going to be joining me in just a moment. Before we get into that tonight's show, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am the CEO and the founder of the Inspired Choices Network, the network that you are listening to right now. And also, I am a coach. I'm a little bit of a different coach. I've kind of got this combination of very linear, very factual detail, and simultaneously I have this very cool intuitive mind that follows where we want to go, and I use all of that to support my clients in creating the life that they desire right now. So if you imagine that there's a hologram in front of you and you create that hologram just like they used to do in Star Wars, have whatever you want inside of that hologram, that's what happens when you and I start to work together. We talk about what it is that you desire, and then we start to make it happen right now. All right? So if you're someone that is looking for maybe expanding your business or starting a business, or maybe you're taking your business to the online platform more and more like many of us are, or you're someone that is challenged with relationships and you're looking to see how you can do that differently. Those are just two of the areas that I work with people in, and I absolutely love doing what I do. And finally, one of the biggest things that I do is I introduce your voice to the world. I amplify your voice with our platform here on Inspired Choices Network, where you can enjoy full technology support, full marketing and advertising. I have the most amazing team that I work with. And as well, you can have your voice out on 54 platforms live, which we are doing right now during this show. And then we take your voice and we put it into podcasts, and you are then on over 50 podcast locations. So we take care of everything so that your voice can be brought to the world. And now absolutely is the time for everybody's voices to step up big time. You are so needed in the world right now. And, you know, for the people that are attracted to what I talk about, you know that you came here for this time in this space. You know that you've been creating your life and your beliefs and your strength for this very moment so that you can step up and lead. And we are absolutely looking for conscious leaders. So if that interests you, or you have some questions, please reach out to me, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, or you can check us all out on the Inspired Choices Network at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. All right, so let's get into tonight's show. When the universe speaks. The universe is speaking to you, to the person across from you, to your business, to your everything. Are you listening? When the universe speaks, what do you do? When the universe speaks, what have you decided? So tonight I'd love for you to join me with my guest Sylvia Pelster, Silk, as we discuss the universe and the messages we can all be receiving. Now let me tell you a little bit about Sylvia. She is an intuitive counselor who integrates traditional therapy with Akashic readings and energy work to help individuals transform to a life that is fully on purpose. way back in ancient history in 1998. I don't think that's far back. She graduated from the social work program at Ryerson University while working for multiple community agencies. She has assisted thousands of individuals through addictions, mental health, and trauma to find their way. While she was powerful in this work, her results became exponential when she added energy therapies to her work. In the mid-90s, Sylvia brought energy work into the hospital she worked in and into mental health agencies to assist individuals to heal with ease. In 2004, she had been working independently with individuals, groups, and recently, since 2010, organizations. During the fall of 2019, she embarked on a life-changing trip to Machu Picchu. That's a hard one to say for me, where she gained many life lessons and insights that have brought her back to her roots. I can't wait to hear about this story. It is so wonderful to have you with us. Sylvia, are you there?
Yes, it's wonderful to be here, Christine, with you.
I'm really glad to have you here. And it's such a cool topic, when the universe speaks. Why did that topic jump out for you when you and I started to speak?
Well, for me, it's, I swear the universe has been running my life for the last 6 or 7 months. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm not feeling powerless. I'm probably feeling more powerful as I listen to the messages, even when they don't make sense to my conscious brain.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? So tell us about your experience with the universe speaking to you, because I know you had kind of hinted at a story that you wanted to share with all of the listeners.
Well, it started, so I did a 5-day trek in September of 2019 to Machu Picchu, and at 54, it's probably not the time in your life to start mountain climbing. However, I did it, and I'm very proud I did it. It was the absolutely most difficult thing I've done in my life. It taxed me physically, emotionally, and yet lifted me up spiritually at the same time. It was absolutely beautiful and pristine, all the visuals that I saw in terms of beautiful landscapes and so on. And when I came, and people said, oh, it's going to be a life-changing trip. And I thought, it'll be a fine trip. It'll be really cool. Life-changing, I can't see that, but whatever. And honestly, the first week home afterwards, I slept all week. I'd be sitting in my armchair and pass out and wake up a couple of hours later. And one of the things that my guides or the universe said to me was, you've got to stop working so hard. When you try and force things in your business to work, you constrict the energy and it stops working. And the next Wednesday, I got up in the morning and I thought, I don't feel like working. And I'm like, well, I just got permission from the big guy upstairs, the universe, not to work. So I'm taking the day off. And I was watching TV and I was playing on my tablet, probably playing crossword puzzles. And I thought about, I had been at a workshop with somebody who does card readings. And I thought, oh yeah, I was going to get a reading from her. I wonder what her name was. Gee, I wonder where I put those cards. I'm going to have to find them. Within 5 to 10 minutes, her little messenger bubble pops up on my tablet. Now, I'm not sure that I actually had my tablet connected to Wi-Fi, because when I'm playing games, I usually don't. In any event, I looked at the picture and I went, I think that's her. I texted her and said, are you the one that does the readings? And she said, yes. I said, how much do you charge and when could you do it? 5:30 that afternoon, I had a reading. And we get on the phone, on Zoom, and she starts and she's pulling the cards and so on. And she said, I get the feeling you're supposed to go back to social work and get your registration back with the College of Social Workers and do work with trauma. And I went, I don't know. I've done that work before. I'm not sure about that. And we continued to talk a little while later, and I said, what about Akashic Records? And every cell in my body turned on and said yes, and every cell in her body had the same experience. And so I'm like, I'll do the Akashic Records. I'm good at those. I love doing them. Fabulous. That's my path. I see myself doing them from the stage. And she said, yeah, I see them too, but I still think you should get your social work registration back and be doing counseling and energy work. And I'm like, I don't think so. Whatever. And so I thanked her for the call. The next morning I get up and I pull out my phone and I look at my email messages, and there's a message from a past therapy client saying, I don't think I ever told you how incredibly grateful I was for all the help that you gave me and all your healing and all the wisdom. And I'm like, okay, universe, I hear ya. I'm supposed to go back to social work. And I start that day. I called the College of Social Workers, and I had never been able to get through to them. I called at 4:30 in the afternoon. I think their office closes at 4:30. Someone picked up the phone, and I found out about what would take to get my registration back, which I had retired from or resigned from in 2011 or given up. And that's how it just happened. I would go out. I went out to a community event that same evening, and somebody said to me, we have office space available. I'm like, well, I know it's not the right office space, but okay, I'm supposed to get an office. And so I just was listening to all these messages and following through. Within 3 weeks, I had my new company name, which is On Purpose Transformations. And that was kind of a cool one because I was talking to a girlfriend of mine that I mastermind with, and she was like, okay, let's talk about this big shift here. And she's like, oh, that feels like exactly what you're supposed to be doing. What would your business name be? And I said, On Purpose Transformations. Immediately, I saw my logo, which has the butterfly on the S of the transformations. And I'm like, oh, I took a picture of that butterfly when I was in Peru. We get off the call, and I look at my vision board from 2019, and across the middle in huge letters is Transformations with an asterisk behind it in 2019. I call her back. I'm like, Carol, you won't believe this. And we just laughed. And so that's what was happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. And I love the story how each of these things were very easeful. Like they weren't these big trauma and drama like people think, the sky's going to open up and, some big message is going to come through. It can be very, very simple and very easeful. And I'm sure you will agree that when the universe, we need to listen and listen to the, it's often not super loud. I don't know about you, but it's often not super loud. The messages are often very quiet and very subtle, and they come in quite easily. Well, that is so cool. I had kind of some similar things like that happen, and I'm sure lots of our listeners out there can recall when some of these things have come in. But usually, I would say at least up until the last couple of years, a lot of people would call them coincidences, right? Oh, it's just a coincidence, just a coincidence. And I love how you said when this woman first suggested that you go back into social work, that your mind went, yeah, but I've been there, I've done that, right? But you didn't close the door. And so many of us will go, no, I've already done that. I already decided I'm done with that. And then really miss a huge opportunity that was trying to come through to you.
Exactly. And I mean, our minds can take over what our heart really desires, right?
Oh yeah. And you know what? we are so cute. Human beings are so cute. Right? We put out we get a desire within us, right? And we can see it, or we can, get the idea of the experience of feeling it and experiencing it. And then in order to get there, we maybe have to do something we wouldn't choose to do, right? So we cut off our nose and spite our face to get to those desires so many times.
Oh, it's so easy to do. Or you think, did I really hear that? Was that really the message?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And once the resistance comes, it's the difficult time then.
That's right. That's right. We're going to go for a break, our first break of the show. I just want to give you a quick example as well. So you know that it's not just Sylvia. It's all of us. We have the universe is speaking to all of us. So, Sylvia, I had done radio for a couple of years. And the last year I had done radio, now this was back in, I think it was 2013. I had actually had a business partner at the time. It was a very short business arrangement. And about a month and a half, it actually had me leave Guelph, where you live, right? And I moved to Oakville. I moved to Burlington at the time. And this person that I was in business with, about 2 months after being in business, decided she didn't want to be in business anymore. And I'm in a new city. I don't know anybody. She's the only person I knew, right? Because I was moving there because we were going to do this big business together. And we were in a 1-year contract with a radio company. And so we're two months into 12 months of this contract, and there's no getting out of this contract, right? Mm-hmm. And so we went along. We were able to manage through that year. We actually just did the radio show every other week. We would do it by ourselves or with a guest. And when that radio contract was done, you can imagine I was like, thank God I'm done with this crap, right? Like I was not happy. Mm-hmm. And
yes.
And it was about a month later that I woke up one day and I asked my business, what would you like me to focus on? And guess what my business told me to focus on?
Radio.
Yeah, radio. And you can imagine where my mind was going. Hell no. I don't want to do that. Why would I go and do that again? And then thankfully, I was able to catch myself and go, stop it. Stop it. You asked your business. It showed you. Just follow the nudge. Just follow the nudge. So what was really cool about that at that point was I didn't get distracted into conclusion. So I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea where that was going to lead me. And within about 4 to 6 weeks after going back on the radio, I was asked if I wanted to produce. I had never produced radio before. And 6 months after that, I was the least owner of that platform, and here I am, 9 years later, and I'm running an international online radio platform.
It's amazing.
Right?
Just listening to those signs and those symbols and those messages.
Yes.
Where we can end up.
Exactly. Okay, everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to have a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about When the Universe Speaks with my guest, Sylvia Pelster Silk. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Tonight we are speaking with Sylvia Pelsker-Silk, and we're talking When the Universe Speaks. Now, before we jump back into the conversation, if you're interested in speaking with Sylvia, you can do so at SylviaOnPurposeTransformations.ca, and Sylvia is spelled SYLVIA. And of course, onpurposetransformations.ca is her website. And I know you've got something special for our listeners, but we're going to hold on to that until after our next break, and we'll share with them what you are going to share with all of them, which is very, very cool. So, Sylvia, you've talked about Akashic Records, and you also do energy psychotherapy. Can you tell us about those two things?
Yes. And I've packaged all three of them so that I'm very much being my true self as I'm working with each client. So we start out with what's called an Akashic record reading, and your Akasha is like like a supercomputer of all of your experiences that you've had in this lifetime and in past lifetimes. And I'm trained I have the right code to be able to get in and read for you. And it becomes extremely helpful in understanding patterns that don't make sense in this lifetime, where perhaps you're stuck and it's like, I don't understand why I keep getting stuck, in these same kind of relationships, or why I just can't step forward into my truth, or why I'm frightened here. And so it just is helpful to give insight. So we start our work together with a personal Akashic reading. Mm-hmm. And then we follow it up, and I'm trained in the psychotherapy as well as in a lot of energy therapy, and it really is helping you get in touch with your body, learning to listen to your body so that you kind of don't need me anymore. And you can get those messages from your body, from the universe, wherever they're coming, so that you can have your best life.
Nice. So what if somebody doesn't believe in past lives?
Well, then I actually recently, a few months ago, did a reading for somebody who does not believe in past lives, who found it incredibly helpful because she was able to, and I talk about past lives. If you don't believe in past lives, think about, why is that story being created at this moment, and does it resonate inside of yourself? Because if there's a resonance with the information that you're getting, it's helpful.
Oh, I like that. I really, really like that. Is there a resonance? And I mean, a lot of people, like I have had my records done a number of years ago, and a number of people will have their Akashic records completed, but not have any memory, and maybe not a great deal of significance around what they're being told, and yet there will be a resonance. There will be this, kind of like a little ding within inside of you, I often say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had people come up to me at events, 2 or 3 years down the road from having a reading with me going, remember when you told me that, blah, 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 that I'm going to have a relationship? I'm in that relationship right now. I'm like, well, that's great. And no, I don't remember. Because I often joke with people that your Akashic reading is so incredibly confidential that I don't remember what I've said.
Right.
Okay. So because I'm a conduit.
Right. Right. And which a lot of people don't realize, many, many, many of us are. We're receiving information without it staying with us for long periods of time. Tell me something. How do you see the Akashic Records and the Universe Speaks connecting?
For me, I think it's just another method. Like, for example, I went to somebody that I knew that did a reading to help me get some information that I was for some reason not getting myself. And it's the same thing for other people when I do a reading. It's like just getting, a lot of people when I do a reading say, that was such a great confirmation where I thought I should go or what I'd been wondering about. And so it's often a confirmation versus, and I mean, sometimes it is brand new information for people, but not always. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, okay, I am on the right track. This is fabulous. And then they're able to take the next steps more easily.
Right. And so what are some of the things that you know, like you've shared an experience of when the universe speaks to you, and so have I. What are some of the different ways that you've observed the universe speaking to other people?
Sometimes the universe speaks in what feels like a really nasty way, in that it closes doors. And so it's like, well, I wanted that, so why didn't that work out? I worked really, really hard at that, and I focused on it, and I put a lot of energy in it, but it never went anywhere. Well, chances are that closed door actually is a message, right? When we're having to strive for things and really fight for them, we're probably maybe not completely off course, but we may need to make a pivot to get onto course. So that's one way. And I think it's so individual, Christine. You know, some people see visions. You know, like I have a girlfriend who, you know, I remember she talked about she was considering buying a used truck, and it was on the side of the road, and as she drove by it, she could see the word lemon written across it and knew that it wasn't a reliable vehicle and just kept going. So sometimes it's those visions that you have that you think are kind of crazy, or you get a hunch about something, or you feel it in a body and it feels heavy, which is often a no, or it feels really light, which is often a yes.
Yeah, I use that one all the time too. You know, for me, it's like this reoccurring thought that comes in, and it's different. It's kind of a little hard to explain. So it's not the mind thinking, because usually when the mind keeps on thinking about something, it goes into, this is my experience, but I often find it with other people as well, is when the mind is thinking about it, it's often got the energy of worry or fear or even disbelief in it, right? Where this thought, which, you know, you're quote unquote knowing, when it drops in, oftentimes it's as if it's like a commercial in my mind. Hey, Christine, don't forget about this. Hey, Christine, remember this? And it's like, okay. And it, you know, 3 or 4 times, and then I'm like, all right, something is asking for me to speak to this. And sometimes it'll just be a matter of reaching out to someone and saying, hey, you know, I've been thinking about you, or this is what's been coming through my mind. And it doesn't necessarily mean whatever my mind was thinking that, you know, we might create something like that together, or it might lead to something, but it's asking me to pay attention in that direction. And then it might lead me to another piece of the conversation which changes or whatever.
Right. And it's learning to listen. I mean, I know I can't tell you the number of times I've heard that very tiny, short whisper, and it's so tiny I barely hear it. And it's often saying something really complicated like, maybe I should take an umbrella today. And then I'll go out not listening to it, and by golly, won't it rain?
Of course.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so as I realized that I had this serial problem of not listening to the whispers, I started to go, oh, my God, there's something in those whispers. I'd better start to listen, right?
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of times it feels like it comes from a different area of my head or my brain than my voice or my own thinking comes from.
Right.
And
you know
so,
what I will find when I'm walking out of the house? My eyes will catch something, like the umbrella.
Right. Exactly.
I love this.
And that's the visual.
Exactly. So Wendy in the chat room says the universe speaks to her a lot of times through posts on Facebook when she first opens it up, or words that are louder than others. That's so cool. And it also speaks to her when she's in the shower and for sure in the tub. And, you know, sometimes when you're doing some of those activities, you're singularly focused.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more quiet.
Well, and your mind's distracted because it's doing something often, right? Like you're washing your body in the shower or the tub. So your mind's distracted thinking about, you know, and so it's not as active. And we need, like, our minds to take a break sometimes so we can hear what's actually really valuable, because our minds can talk us out of a lot of really wonderful stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's oftentimes, I will say to people, when you ask the question, so the first thing I think that people need to know is, if you really want to hear the whispers, you need to ask to hear them. And then when you ask, give your mind something to do. Like I'll often say to clients, okay, you know, go wash the dishes or do the laundry or do something where your mind is being given a job, and you just allow the question to go out there. And don't be surprised when you start to receive little nudges.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the ones that I'll do sometimes if I'm working on something and feeling stuck, like perhaps I'm going to be doing some speaking, and I'm just not sure of which way to go or which exercise to put in, I'll go to bed at night and say, okay, help me wake up with clarity in the morning. And I'll wake up and I'll be like, that's a perfect exercise that I didn't even have on the table that I hadn't thought of.
That is so cool. I love that. Can you say that one more time?
Yes. So what I'll say as I'm going to bed, whatever I don't have clarity on or I'm struggling to find clarity on, please help me wake up with clarity in the morning around this what exercises to use in this workshop, or what story to start with when I'm going to start this keynote speech, etc. Mm-hmm. And then in the morning I wake up and whoa, it'll be like, oh my goodness, I never even thought of that.
I love that. I really love that. Karen in the chat room says for her, she gets tingling, usually on her head, that the universe or someone is wishing to get her attention. Now, how many of us will get that and they'll be just like, well, my muscles, you know, there must be something going on with my muscles or my nerve endings, right? Mm-hmm. I will get something similar, but it's like right where my third eye is. It'll feel like somebody is pushing really hard on my third eye. And it was like, okay, I'm listening. Okay, we're up to our second commercial of the night, and when we get back, we're gonna share something special that Sylvia has for all of the listeners, and then we're gonna get back into this conversation. We'd love to hear more from the people in the chat room, and if you'd like to join us in the chat room, just come on over to InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can, of course, call in with any comments or questions you may have for Sylvia or myself. In the U.S., 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. And for anyone out of those two countries, you can use Skype. You just come on over to Inspired Choices Network. All right, we are going to be right back with Sylvia, where we're going to continue the conversation about when the universe speaks. Stay tuned, everyone.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message? The world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. So happy to have you here tonight. We are talking about the universe and when the universe speaks to us. And Sylvia Pelsker, Silk, is my guest tonight, and she's been sharing different experiences she's had. I've shared some. We've got people in the chat room sharing theirs. It's so cool because there's not really one way that it works or it doesn't work. I can tell you though, Sylvia, for me, when I first started to want to learn this, it was really a challenge because the people around me, and I'm wondering if anybody else experiences, the people that I was in a group with, right? I had somebody that was teaching me and how to, pick up on my intuition, and they all received their messages very differently from me. So there was 3 of them and myself. And, my cute little brain went, well, I must not be getting the messages. This must not work for me, right? I just automatically assumed because they were all getting it one way that it was me that was wrong, right? And so for them, they would get more of, they would get visions, they would hear things, and mine is when I get clarity in my mind. And so when the universe comes to me, but it has a very different energy to it as opposed to the mind trying to figure out the answer. It's kind of like, when I posted that live a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, I'm looking for conscious leaders, and you were like, boom, and you sent me an email.
Yes.
Right? Well,
yeah.
that's kind of the way the universe speaks to me. It's that excitement energy. It's like, yes, right? It just really pulls me in very, very quickly. But I needed to learn my way, right?
Absolutely. And I think early on in my days when I was back in the 90s when I was trying to figure this all out, I figured out that I feel things in my body when I had my first therapeutic touch workshop that I went to back May 12th, 1995, actually. I just recently found my notes from that session. And we had to put our hands over, one person would put their hands out and their partner would put the hands over to sense the energy in the other person. And we did that, and I had such excruciating pain run up my arms to my elbows that I had to pull away. And I said to Evelyn McKay, my teacher, Evelyn, what am I doing wrong? And she came over and she put her hand on my shoulder and she looked at my partner and she said, are you going to tell her or am I? And I'm like, what's going on? The person that I was partnered with had extreme chronic pain. And it was in that moment that I realized I'm like a magnet to pick up other people's stuff. Fortunately, since then, I've learned how to manage that really effectively. So it's a fabulous tool when I'm doing work with clients because I can help them go to the area in their body that is talking to them.
Right.
But way back, I used to think the right way to do it was to get messages by voice or messages by seeing things or some people will say, well, I just feel it in my body. I know it was right. And I'm like, oh, I want that. But it wasn't right for me.
Right. Exactly. And it's so important, I think, too, that here's the other big piece is you may or may not be like someone that you know and how they receive it. And it can change over time. It can absolutely change over time because now I receive the messages, the intuition in a number of different ways. But it's nearly like I had to be open to it showing up, whatever way it would show up, in order for me to start being more receptive to and kind of being in question, like, oh, is this real, or is this, a message that's coming in? Is this my intuition? Is there what is this really, right? As opposed to conclusion, just like you did, right? Like, what's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with anyone. Get the message. Nobody's wrong.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so cool. All right, so you have something that you wanted to share with our listeners. You had a wonderful gift that you were gifting them. So you have a 20% savings on your next Teaching the Akashic, and the topic starts on April the 22nd. Is that right?
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm speaking from the Akasha on different topics, and I host an event every month. And it's actually not 20%. It's even better than that. It's $20 off for all of your listeners. And all they need to do is go to my Facebook page, which is at On Purpose Transformations, and click on the Eventbrite link and join up. And their coupon code is INSPIRED with a capital I.
Nice.
This month's teaching in April on the 23rd will be on relationships. So we're going to go in, we're going to see what the Akasha has to teach us, and then people are invited to ask questions of the Akasha around the topic, not about their own personal relationships so much, but, themes around that topic.
Now,
so
I don't know why. Thank you so much. That is a fabulous gift. I am surprised. I thought the Akashic was individualized, but you can get information for different areas of topics or for that group in particular that comes together.
That's correct. So I do it with the intention of the group that's in right now in the Zoom rooms, because we are in the middle of COVID, and the show must go on, as we say. So I'm able to set that intention, and it's been quite remarkable what people get out of the understanding that people receive from these teaching evenings, that they can walk away with insights. And it's interesting because sometimes when I've done these group readings, people have said, well, she said such and such, and somebody else will say, no, she said this. And so everybody, again, just like we've been talking about all evening, is they're hearing the messages they need in the way that they need it. So they may hear the words that are coming through the Akasha slightly different, because that's how it appeals to their energy, and that's the piece that they need out of it all.
That's very cool. I've never heard it put like that before. That's very, very cool. So what is it about the Akasha for you as the person who's doing the reading? What does it give you?
It gives me a sense of purpose. I think that the Akasha was the one thing that I took training in, and to put it in perspective, I started in May of 1995 training in different forms of energy work, and I was always doing something till 2002, taking another course, learning something, and it was 2006, I think, when I took my first Akashic reading course. And it was the one thing that I knew in the minute I was in the Akasha, and that I was reading and that I was getting messages. It just had that level of clarity for me that my doubts could always, with everything else, my doubts got in the way. For some reason with the Akasha, it has always flowed for me.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things that the universe is speaking to you at this time and space? And before you answer that question, anybody that's listening to in the live or in the replay, when we put the replay out, you can come to this show posting, so you can find this on many podcast locations, including the Inspired Choices Network, and we will have all that information and the Eventbrite link for you to be able to join Sylvia's class on April the 22nd. Okay, so what is it for you, Sylvia, with what's coming through to you right now with the universe speaking at this time and space?
So for me, it has to do, I think, with COVID. I find it very, very interesting that I've been called back to this work just before this major outbreak in the universe, and because I feel so much anxiety and fear that is out there, and yet throughout it, I've been able to remain calm. Like I can cite one time I was watching the news with my husband, and I don't normally watch the news, and I started to get all uncomfortable and anxious, and I'm like, I've got to leave the room. But other than that, I have been able to stay calm. I've been able to stay hopeful. And I've just been feeling like my role and my purpose is when I'm on Facebook, when I'm talking to people, whatever it is that I'm doing, to just be a place of reassurance, sending out positivity, letting everybody know we're going to be okay. In fact, I think we're going to be more than okay when we come out of this. Mm-hmm. I think the world is going to be, I think this is a massive world clearing that's allowing us to free up and get rid of a whole lot of garbage that we've been holding on to, that, like our fake beliefs and all those things that actually don't serve our souls well and that we hold on to out of fear. And I think as we come out of this, we're going to be in this much more compassionate, loving place and perhaps even more aware of what our real priorities personally are.
Yeah. It's I've spoken with a lot of people. We've been doing a Monday and Wednesday morning, we're doing a water cooler conversations show here on the network. We just created that quite quickly over the last 2 weeks. And so I've been speaking with a lot of people who are leaders, real conscious leaders in the world. And while this is not very popular initially when we say it, most of us are excited and quite joyful at this time. And we're quite apprehensive around sharing that information because, we should be worried and in fear and sad, right? Because of what's going on. And trust me, none of us are pleased that people are at risk and people are dying. That's not the case at all. But what we do is we read energy, not necessarily the news. And when you are someone who is adept at reading energy, you may also start to feel joy and excitement and a real sense of peace around what is going on. It kind of reminds me, Sylvia, on Christmas morning when, nobody's working, the stores are closed, there might be a corner store open, but you go out for a walk or you go for a drive and there is this absolute sense of peace around you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this feels like a lot of the time for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that peace, like we go up to our cottage often for Christmas and there'll be snow out and it'll be so quiet and you walk and it's just this, everything is fine and perfect. And that's what it feels like. And so I think a lot of people think I'm off my tree. And I may well be. There's always a risk of that. But it just feels so right. Somebody's written in before Sunday shopping was legal. Yeah, exactly. When we had time off, when the shops closed at 6, except Friday night, because that was special, and it stayed open till 9, Saturday till 5, and then Sunday was off, right?
Right.
And we all had downtime. And we weren't running around thinking everything was a crisis.
Right. And how much has our nervous system, which has impacted our immune system, actually been on overdrive since we've been doing this 24/7, 365 in the world?
Oh, constant. Like, people never get a break. Like, their bosses are texting them, or they're texting their boss, or they're looking at their emails, or we're stuck, our eyeballs are stuck to our screen for Facebook. And like, it's always go, 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 go. And the gift of this situation is just sit down, relax, and be calm.
Yeah. And, you know, there's probably a lot of people out there that actually don't know how to do this. You know, I was in human resources, Sylvia, for a long, long time, and there was a company that I was the director of HR for. I was actually in Guelph when I lived in Guelph. And I had a BlackBerry, and, you know, we had to be available all the time on our BlackBerries. Like, if you had a company phone, you better respond. And at one point, one of my colleagues said, you know, you need a vacation. Come on, let's go. And I'm like, no, I have too much to do. And my boss walked in and said, if you don't go take this vacation, I'm firing you. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I take this vacation. And before we go to get on the plane, my colleague's like, give me your phone. I'm like, what? She says, give me your phone. And it was very difficult for me. Probably we were there for, I think we were probably there for 7 days. I think it took me 4 days before I knew how to relax, before I was really able to just be, because my nervous system, right, my adrenals were on overload. And it's very difficult to bring them down. And I wonder how much of that is going on for people right now in the world.
Well, we'd need to stop listening to the news completely, I think, and figure out a way to get educated about what's going on in a safe way. And I think that's what's happening, right? And the fear and the anxiety, I think, is a bit of a side effect of that constant striving and driving and being and doing and I've gotta and, you know, being on, or the risk that you could be on.
Right. So true. So true. My friends, whatever is occurring in your world, I'd love for you to know that everyone is intuitive. We can all be receiving messages from the universe. So maybe slow down and let it speak to you, whichever the way it comes through for you. B, if you're struggling to get to this place of calm, you can contact Sylvia. You can go over to her website, onpurposetransformations.ca, or email her, Sylvia at onpurposetransformations.ca, or on Facebook. She has a Facebook page called On Purpose Transformation. So that's very, very easy. You can reach out to Sylvia. You can reach out to myself, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, or you can come on over to the network, inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We have thousands and thousands of free audio that you can listen to, podcasts, and we have fabulous hosts that you can reach out and ask for support if somebody pings for you. Here's the gift of right now, my friends. You're not alone. We're all in this together, and you didn't come here to do this alone, so put your hand up. Sylvia, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for listening to the universe for yourself and what you're doing for all of your clients out there. And everyone, join us again next week, where we will have another conversation that will sometimes provoke you and sometimes invite you into greater. Until next week, remember, you can always make another choice. Bye for now, my friends.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, be willing to choose what you really desire. This is your life, making the choices that bring you all that